Welcome back to Technique Wad. You can find us at barbellshrugged.com. I'm Doug Larson. This is Mike McGoldrick. Today we're going to go over a two-part series on muscle-ups. First we're going to start with strict muscle-ups, and then in part two we're going to come back and we're going to do kipping muscle-ups. So if you're brand new to muscle-ups and you don't know these different variations, Mike's going to give you a quick demo. First he's going to do a strict muscle-up. Looks just like this. So he's not using any momentum. He's turning out at the bottom and pulling strictly back up to the top. All right, beautiful. All right, so that's a strict muscle up. Now he's going to do a kipping muscle up. So big swing at the bottom, get some momentum, pulling his hips to the rings, and then pressing out, falling back and right back into the movement. Alright, so those are the two different variations. So I'll let Mike do the demos because Mike's a hell of a lot better at muscle ups than I am. So we're going to let Mike talk you through the finer points of the muscle up. Then we're going to come back and I'm going to talk about scaling at the end of the video. So Mike, take it away.
Okay, thanks Doug. Sorry, 1 second, just did 4 muscle ups.
Wow.
Alright, strict muscle ups. Okay, first things first, depending on where you are as an athlete and your athletic ability, I say that a few of the prerequisites for a strict muscle up tend to be that you need to be able to do a strict chest to bar pull up and a strict ring dip. Okay, so you want to be able to, from a full hang, be able to statically pull yourself to the rings, bring your rings to the chest. Okay, so once you've got that down, we're going to go ahead and move on and assume that you can do that. Set up your false grip. Okay, so with a strict muscle up, your grip is not going to be neutral. It's going to be set up in a false grip, meaning that you're going to have your pulling levers shortened quite a bit. So you're going to have the rings going through the palm of your hand, all right, and your hand set up in the middle of the rings. Okay, next, once you have that down, all right, rings through palm of your hand in the middle of the rings, turn them towards your face, okay? So what this does is allow you to have a stronger grip on the rings because you're going to be using way more upper body strength for a strict muscle up. All right, next we want to practice pulling our chest to the rings, okay, and then back down. So pull your chest to the rings and then back down. Next, you want to trace the rings through your body as you pull them to your chest and then set up to look at the floor. All right, so the point is to go from a full hang to landing in the bottom of a ring dip. Okay, so start off pulling your chest to the rings, tracing those rings around your body, and then performing a sit-up to where you are facing downward at the ground and your feet if you're hanging in the air. All right. The deeper you can land in the ring dip, the better, because that means you're not going to have to pull as high. All right. So pull your chest to the rings, trace the rings through, and look down at the ground. Okay. Once you're there, you just finish the muscle up by pressing out into your ring dip. Okay. So what this would look like from a full hang would be, I set up my false grip. All right, remember, rings to the palm of your hands, hands in the middle of the rings, turn them towards your face, and then you want to practice pulling your chest to the rings. Okay, next step is going to be the transition, right? Pulling your chest to the rings, doing a sit-up, looking at the ground or your feet, and then pressing out into the ring dip, okay? So full would look like this. And I press out. To come back down, I lower, retrace those rings to my chest, and come back down. Turn out, I'm still able to hold the false grip. For some of you who have some flexibility issues in your shoulder, and you want to achieve a full lockout on a strict ring dip, you're going to need to turn those rings out to keep the false grip. Because if I'm hanging from the rings, and I want to keep the false grip, but I want to be able to fully lock out my arms and shoulders, I'm going to lose that false grip if I don't turn out. So if you're hanging in this position, you're going to lose that grip. One way to keep that is to, as you go down in that full extension, turn them out into an internally rotated position. That will help you keep the false grip. Okay, all right. Doug is going to go over some scaling techniques for those of you who aren't quite able to perform a strict ring dip yet.
All right, so obviously that's a very difficult movement to do and requires a lot of strength. So number one, you should be practicing strict pull-ups and strict ring dips as Mike suggested. So while you're doing that, you can be training your transition. So Mike already showed you kind of the finer points by going through this, this deloaded muscle up where his feet were on the ground, and that's one way you can scale. As an exercise, here's how I tend to have people do it. I'm going to stand right underneath the rings where they're right at my sides. The rings should be right around hip height. From here, I'm not going to move my feet. I'm going to kneel down in front of the rings. I'm going to get my false grip, elbows together, and then I'm going to lean back, push my hips up, and then I'm going to pull the rings to my chest. From here, I can pull myself through just like that. And then I can press out. Okay? Down at the bottom, and I can go right in the reverse pattern. Hips forward, I come around, I end up in that same false grip position with my hips up. Really, I should be able to keep that position without the rings, so I'm not pulling really that much. Again, I should be able to, if my feet are in the right spot, hold my entire body weight with my legs. The better you get at it, the less you press with your legs and the more you pull with your hands with that false grip. So again, down to the very bottom of the dip, one important thing to note, my shoulder isn't forward, my shoulder is all the way pulled back. So when I'm at the bottom of my dip, my shoulders are here, not here. I don't want this broken neck position with my shoulders forward, shoulders back, and then when I'm actually in the muscle up, obviously my feet will be out in front of me, which you're going to see here in just a second, and just like Mike talked about. So the important part of the transition is that when I come down, I land in that full false grip, then I can just train that transition in a deloaded position. Once you get good at that, then you can start to add a band to that. So, just like scaling pull-ups or anything else, you can use any different size bands. The further you pull the band through, the more help you're going to get. The more on the end of the band, the less help you're going to get. So usually what I do is I put the band right behind me, and I hop up and I sit all the way on the band. That way I can get that false grip. My feet can be right in front of me, but the band's helping me out. I still have a full false grip. I point my toes, straight legs, and I pull myself up all the way through that transition, and then I'm looking right at my feet, and then I can dip out from there. That way I can train this transition in a deloaded position, because that's the hardest part of the muscle up for most people. So feet on the ground is kind of level 1 scaling, and then using a band is kind of your level 2 scaling. I'd say level 3 is just to do a full body weight negative starting at the top. In fact, I might have Mike demo this real quick. Starting at the top, yeah, you can be up there.
Okay.
You might have to step off of a box or something. Mike's just gonna pull himself up because he can, but you might have to step off of a box, get to all the way to the top, and then nice and slow, without shaking, you're gonna do just the negative part and try to land with that full false grip. If you can't land with the full false grip and you slip out of it, show what it looks like to slip out. He lands there and then kind of falls all the way to a regular neutral wrist. If you can't hold that full false grip, then you're probably not going to be able to do a muscle up, because you're going to miss your transition on the way back up, at least for a strict muscle up, because you've got to have that false grip to be able to roll on top of the ring. Okay. So doing strict muscle ups is one way, kind of the level 3 way I'm going to suggest right now to do, or to train to do eventually full strict muscle ups. Once you can get a couple of full strict muscle ups, then you can start to worry about doing kipping muscle ups, which is what most people are going to do in any type of Metcon, which is what we're going to do in part 2. So again, you can find us at barbellshrugged.com. If you have any questions about how to do muscle ups and you want to get a hold of us, you can go to barbellshrugged.com and click on the Ask a Question tab, or you can go to Twitter and tweet at us at Barbell Shrugged.
If you like this video or any of our other videos, make sure to share it on your Facebook wall by clicking share, and then the Facebook icon, and then also like it. Thanks, Shrug Thugs.